Hello, 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 hello. So today we will be looking at some more solutions, or well, just the expanded version of the solutions that I proposed, the economical solutions I proposed for South Africa in my previous video. So this is an expansion on that. So some of the ideas are like basically more crazy stuff, that's in my mind, like bring back corporal punishment and bring in like national army duty, like civil service, compulsory civil duty for all people above the age of 15 and under the age of 30. That will have obviously a huge amount of political resistance, but most of South Africa's problems, the reason, like, a lot of the people blame the ANC, and I've been very critical of the ANC in other videos, but there is no, whatever you do, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like, whether it's the MK party or the DA in total power with a 2/3 majority, you'll see some changes, but the thing is, like, whatever you do, there will be consequences, and the people in power know that. We are not like basically a failed state. Like Rob Herzog says, we're a failed state. We're not a failed state. Like, go to South Africa for a month and drive around and see how it is, and then go to Venezuela for a month and drive around and see how it is. Like, we're not a failed state. And Venezuela isn't even as bad as Somalia. Go to Somalia, go to Syria or Libya, then, you will see the difference. So the thing is we're flirting with that. Like, we're flirting with becoming a failed state because, like, for the water, for example, the water crisis, it's almost like, I won't say no, it didn't come out of nowhere, obviously. Like, the pipes deteriorated over a long period, but they did break kind of all at once. Now, just like to explain that, like, let's say if you buy a PVC or a clay or a cement pipe, that thing will have a lifetime expectancy, like all things. For example, a piece of concrete may last for 40 years or 30 years. That's probably why, like, it's breaking down now, because they were installed 40 years ago and you were supposed to, like 5 years ago, change it, and you didn't, and now it's breaking down. Just like a car, you can get 500,000 kilometers out of a Mercedes, but you have to service it, like when it needs to be serviced, and certain things you'll have major services and minor services. And okay, that's the car analogy, but my point is that, then you fix the water. Let's say you put that into the budget, but to put that into the budget, you also have to decrease the budget. So it's very complicated. It's not easy. But let's try to figure something out, won't we? So there's many problems. Like, you obviously have apartheid and colonialism, which started it, and then the incompetence of the ANC. To its credit, the ANC did try to fix it. We have had the RDP economic plan, the GEAR plan. We have had ASGISA and the NDP. Currently, we're in the NDP, I believe, the National Development Plan, and they oscillated between welfarism and neoliberalism, while failing to deal with the underlying structural issues: weak institutions, political administration, spatial inequality, crime syndicates, monopolized markets, and anti-investment policies. Not even the promising Thabo Mbeki era of 1999 to 2008, which saw a growth of 5% and budget surpluses, managed to reform the underlying systems. So, for example, what I just mentioned here is, like, weak institutions would be one of the major ones. if you have like weak institutions, then everything like corrupts. You have corruption, you have incompetence, you have mismanagement. And if you have a good institution, like a good tax authority, a good anti-corruption unit, then these things don't happen. That's like one of the reason, like Jacob Zuma gets so much flack, is because he weakened institutions. If you have evidence contrary to that, then please provide it. I'll be very interested. We have spatial apartheid, which means 26 million people still live in townships far from economic nodes. Whatever you want to say about the ANC, remember we still have apartheid legacy. If you go into like Cape Town, like all the major cities around the city, like the periphery, there are these slums, these townships. Those people lose a lot of, if they have work, if they're not unemployed, they lose a lot of time and money getting into the city and back. While they are traversing this big distance, they are also in danger of being in a car accident. We have a high car accident vehicle rate, and they're also in accident, like in danger of crime. So spatial apartheid is a big problem. Educational failure, like they say 81% of grade 4 learners can't read for meaning. Water insecurity, 61% of municipalities had water systems categorized as at risk or critical. And this was in 2022. Rising inflation, food price inflation in 2023 peaked at 14.4%, causing hunger in 27% of households. So we have the Reserve Bank trying to basically address inflation, but there is some failure with regards to food and medicine. It's just become like very expensive. Some food items it's scary how expensive it has become. If you're eating beef, it's basically a luxury. If you're getting a MRI scan at a private hospital, it's a MRI. It's a luxury because you can't go to the public service; they don't have it. So we need some sort of a hybrid approach, like something that combines both elements of socialism and neoliberalism. Or neoliberalism is a bad idea, but capitalism and socialism to do this, and it has to be unique to South Africa because currently we're in survival mode. As I said, we're flirting with being a failed state. So the hybrid prosperity model is inspired by what worked in the real world. It's not that theoretical. For example, it's shaped by Lee Kuan Yew's Singapore, from colonial port to financial giant through the authoritarian discipline, anti-corruption crackdowns, public housing, and aggressive foreign investment strategies. So, yeah, like this guy, was it Lee Kuan Yew? He was how long was he president? Was it 30 years? No, longer, maybe 50 years. He was president for a very long time. And it's like Singapore struck the right amount of... I'm very anti-authoritarian. I like my libertarianism. But what do you do when there's a crisis? Like, are you going to have like Mad Max or like Fallout, chaos, disaster? No, you need order. And when you have order, it's more strict. So Singapore is like a very strict state. I heard you can't spit bubble gum there or whatever, like you get fined. If you have drugs, you get beaten on the soles of your shoes or the soles of your feet or whatever. But maybe that's a good thing. Like people need to learn causality. Like there's too few South Africans who understand causality. Like that is why I'm talking about, reinstating, compulsory conscriptive service in the army. That's why I'm saying bring back corporal punishment in schools. Enable the police to also do some corporal punishment or enact some corporal punishment. For example, if someone like urinates against a car, that of course it doesn't like necessitate like a prison sentence. Is also, as soon as you actually process that crime, like just like get this person to go for community service and everything, your administration cost will go up so much. Just enable the police to enact corporal punishment there and then. You can make a little video of it and put it on the internet. And then it's fair, then it's open, and everyone can see how it's done, and the police can come under scrutiny as well. And then you actually don't have to open a police docket, because you've made a video of it with a body cam. You know, like, show people, and I'm not saying brutalize the person, just take a stick as thick as my thumb, make the person bend over, and just administer one, not like several, just one hard hit, and that's it. You know, like for these small petty crimes. Larger crimes will need much harsher punishment, and I'll get to that. Then we have Vietnam. So we're looking at the Singapore model. Now we look at Vietnam's Doi Moi reforms of 1986. So the Socialist Republic embraced foreign direct investment. Private enterprise and export-driven industrial zones, growing from $6 billion, growing the GDP from $6 billion in 1990 to $410 billion by 2023. Those of you who haven't gone to Vietnam, you should go. It's a fantastic country. Then we also look at Rwanda post-genocide under Paul Kagame, combining public order, strategy, strategic foreign direct investments like MTN and Volkswagen, e-governance, and jailing of over 100 public officials for corruption since 2000. So, yeah, Paul Kagame as well, like, some people will call him a dictator, and that's probably true. If you go and look at the definition, the characteristics of a dictator or authoritarianism, he will check off a lot of those boxes. But then you also cannot ignore the success he has had. Like, Rwanda today is one of the safest, most prosperous African countries with economic growth. You can't say that for South Africa. Chile's stabilization fund and private pension systems, which weathered economic shocks with disciplined macroeconomic policy and sovereign fund savings. So in Chile, there are cases where neoliberalism was good. Like the pension, I am in favor of pensions being run by private companies and not the state. The state will steal your pension. That's a problem. Or the state will invest it into something dodgy. A private company will run your pension in a much better way. The only problem with Chile is it was a cartel. Basically, it was only I think 5 companies or 3 companies that ran the system. You should open the system for all companies. If it's a financial company with leverage of only $5 million, even they should be allowed to run the pensions of, let's say, 10 people even. That's a kind of deregulation I'm talking about. You should be able to start any kind of business as long as there's certain, and I'm not saying you're allowed to pollute a river. I'm not saying you're allowed to harm someone. I'm not saying you're allowed to, you can't pollute a river. You can't hurt someone. There has to be food safety checks there. When you put up a factory, there has to be safety mechanisms. These things, we live in 2000 in the 2000s. It's no longer the 1980s. So you need these things. I'm just saying, anything else, speak to business people. Whether it's a hustler on the ground making 100 rands a day, or where it's Elon Musk, speak to these people and hear what they want. So they can do business in a more effective way. these systems that I mentioned, Singapore, Vietnam, Rwanda, and Chile, borrowed pragmatically, capitalist in enterprise, socialist in social planning, militaristic in discipline. They understood that South Africa, they understood what South Africa has forgotten. Ideology without execution is fantasy. So, yeah, like all of these things, the plans we have had, RDP, GEAR, ASGISA, and the NDP, failure of execution. Some goals were hit, yeah, sure, but like not nearly as successful as the countries I have mentioned. So, from a theoretical standpoint, we will look at developmental economics, like Ha Yoon Chang's advocacy for infant industry protection, or to liberalism. That's when what we spoke about, the German kind of capitalism, where the state ensures a framework for markets to flourish, applied successfully in West Germany. Institutional economics, emphasizing robust legal frameworks, transparency, and enforcement mechanisms. For example, if you cite Elinor Ostrom's work. And Austrian decentralism, where property rights and entrepreneurial spontaneity are respected, especially at the township level. Then we will also look at the militarized order strategies like El Salvador's Bukele doctrine, using mass incarceration and high-tech surveillance to collapse gang power, bringing the murder rate down from 105 per 100,000 people to 7.8 per 100,000 people. With regards to Bukele, who I'm not a fan of, you cannot deny his success. Like, basically putting the people into that brand new prison, stripping them down into their underwear and whatever. El Salvador was one of the most dangerous places in the world. And now, it had basically twice the murder rate of South Africa. Now it is like it's got 1/10 or 1/8 of the murder rate of South Africa. And it's because of that one guy. Crazy as he might seem, he succeeded. And we will see what the following administrations will do after him. I'm going to pause here quickly and talk about the Western Cape. A lot of people, I saw a YouTuber criticizing the crime in the Western Cape, basically saying that Cape Town is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. And that's true. Since the last time I looked, it had a crime rate higher than that of Medellin in Colombia. It had a higher crime rate than Cali, also in Colombia. A few cities in Mexico, it had a higher crime rate as. And then he went on and he blamed the DA, or the Democratic Alliance, for these failures. But essentially, the police are not run by the DA. We don't have like federal police forces like in the US. And the DA can't give the police more power. The DA can't tell them, if you, like what I said earlier, if someone urinates on the street corner, take a rod and hit him on the bum. The DA can't do that. And in the Western Cape, there's a huge amount of gangs, like the numbers gangs, like, for example, or all of these gangs are in the Western Cape. They've been there for a very long time. But the Western Cape has gangsterism and other provinces, which other provinces do not have. So the Eastern Cape doesn't have that, for example. Now, the DA didn't create this gangsterism. It inherited it. And this gangsterism was there even, before, even during apartheid. So these gangs are highly dangerous, and it's basically they who are causing this murder rate. It's not the run-of-the-mill singular murderer who's like, or a serial killer that's walking around shooting people. It's basically the gangs. And the DA has not been like, the DA want to. If you would, the DA is a right-leaning party. If you, and I'm not a DA fan, I am not promoting the DA here at all. All I'm saying is, like, don't forget that the DA is not allowed to apply their crime strategies or crime doctrine, crime fighting doctrine, like they would want to, like it's written in their manifesto. Because although South Africa has, like, our provinces has some freedom, the provinces do not have as much freedom as they do in the US. So that's a problem. I was saying we should we should be like the US. I'm just saying we should give the police more freedom and a mandate to bring down crime and stop interfering with their work. Too often the police is accused of human rights abuses and stuff like that. Do not underestimate the intelligence of the police. They are not serial killers, they're not psychos. Of course, there will be psychos in the police, but there's psychos everywhere. The police will know, this guy, instinctively. Like those of you who have been in a profession, whether you're a teacher or whether you're a doctor or an engineer, whatever, you will know, for example, after 20 years of experience, many problems you will know instinctively. Like when you see a certain person or a certain problem. And the police are like that as well. What's stopping them from administering justice is overzealous legal system, an overzealous amount of human rights. 60% of South Africans, actually, in the last poll that I'm aware of, 60% of South Africans wanted a autocracy. Okay, so that is like a problem, because autocracies can't be good, because who polices the police? Okay, you still need what I said, like strong institutions, but there's not as many people who believe in democracy any longer, because it's kind of has failed. Or it's not that democracy has failed in South Africa, it's that we have too many human rights. And the human rights obviously is important. We have a lot of human rights in South Africa because of the brutality of the apartheid regime. But now there are too many freedoms. And what Bukele did in El Salvador works. It works. So maybe there's something to learn from that. Botswana's diamond management under Seretse Khama and later Ian Khama, where corruption was curbed through professional civil service and transparent joint ventures with De Beers. So Botswana as well, okay, Seretse and Ian Khama were very capable people, and they were slightly autocratic. Botswana is a fascinating country. I want to do a video about it. But they were slightly autocratic. But look at where Zimbabwe is and Botswana is today. Botswana, and don't come to me with the argument that they have a small population. Vietnam has a huge population. And it fixed these problems. Botswana is only 1 million people or 3 million people, but still they could have fallen into the same trap that many African countries fell into. They didn't. They didn't fall into this corruption trap. Many people, they make corruption a political issue or a racial issue. It's got nothing to do with politics or race. It's someone who has become greedy and basically is out of control. And when we catch or expose a corrupt person, don't make, don't support this person. Don't feel sorry for them because they're in your in-group or whatever. This person's a criminal. They don't care about you. Like, did they phone you in the middle of the night like, oh, I got all of this money, do you want a bit because you're in my group, in my WhatsApp group? No, they didn't. Of course not, because they're criminals. So what South Africa needs is, we need to be capitalist in trade, yet socialist for basic service provision, okay? As we spoke about in the first video about, like, for example, the Bolsa Familia, and also, we need some, basically, we need free trade. That's a no-brainer. We need to be authoritarian in anti-crime measures, yet democratic in budget oversight. So authoritarianism only need to go around the policing area, if people break the law. For the rest, we stay a democracy. We know we will change presidents, we will change political parties, but we need to keep on being authoritarian with security matters, insecurity matters. Then globalized in investment, yet nationalist in land security. So there has to be, we need to get both foreign direct investment, and we need, like, land redistribution for the black, African black underclass or people who got dispossessed. Both these things need to happen at the same time. How you do it exactly, I don't know. Like, maybe a strong marketing campaign and honest marketing. Like, I'm not like what's that pyramid scheme? Multi-level, not like multi-level marketing nonsense. Like a honest marketing campaign where you go to people and you tell them this is the problems. These are the problems. Like, okay, we will something like, I don't know, like, one solution to the land problem may be, okay, we will give you your land back. This is yours, but you are going to lease it out to this American or Chinese company for the next 100 years. And they're going to pay you a certain amount of money, but you can't sell it, you can't sell the land, you can't interfere with the operation. Something like that. I don't know what's the answer to this. Like, there's many solutions for redistribution and getting foreign aid. What I am saying is, one solution I've heard is that you focus on just one of the two. Like, you just focus on foreign investment, and then later you do redistribution, or you do redistribution now and later you get foreign investment. I don't think that's a good idea. Like, one can make us into a feudal state, and the other one can make us into a failed state. So neither of these are good. I say do both simultaneously, and then you have more control about what you can do. But both of these things need to happen simultaneously. Now, the first major thing I want to talk about is infrastructure and rural transformation, because this is like a big problem. The South African state has historically relied on large centralized mega projects like the Kuiberg nuclear station of 1976, the Gautrain in 2010, the Medupi and Kusile power stations in 2017 and 2022, all of which suffered from cost overruns, corruption, or implementation failure. By contrast, successful development in other parts of the world has increasingly relied on modular, scalable infrastructure, particularly in rural and urban environments. So, for example, I spoke about ESCOM. What you had there is the reason why we want South Africans, or the politicians want these big projects, is it's easier for them to then commit corruption, because you are on the inside. You can find like tenders from people, and you can make a lot of money. But if it's modular, like if it's smaller, you need fewer people, and there's fewer chances because you'll get more bids. If you're building something worth $200 billion in South Africa, you're going to only get like 2 bids, okay? And one of these like, well, let's say if you're building a nuclear plant, you're going to get a bid from South Korea, a bid from the US, and a bid from Russia, or a bid from France. Like, so there will be 4 bids. Whereas if you make something modular, if you do something for 10 million rand, you can get up to 200 bids. And okay, there's going to be, obviously there's more admin around the bid, but remember these bidders, it'll be easier for these bidders to police each other than it will be for the large bidders to police each other. Like, to a simple example, like if you look at Alstom in France, their headquarters, would probably be something like Fort Knox, in the sense that, there's, to walk into the office area, you'll need biometrics and stuff like that. And the people, there'll be NDAs for everyone, and what have, like, the CEO or the directors all have private jets and bodyguards, and with sworn oaths not to divulge any information. So no one can truly say what goes on in, let's say, Alstom, or in, like, what's the Russian energy company called again, the nuclear company. They make good reactors, by the way, the Russians, but like, you need to make sure about certain things if you deal with the Russians, or rather the Russian state. If you look at a small company, they're going to be much more transparent because they have to be. It's much easier for the South African tax authorities, the police, or whoever to police or to monitor small companies. Now, if you do, South Africa had, or they were going to do it, like the pebble bed modular reactor, we were this close to getting it, and there was a project to build small electric vehicles in South Africa. We were this close to doing it, and then these projects got cancelled. It was under the administration of Jacob Zuma, by the way. And they were cancelled because they were small. Like, you can build a small unit by yourself, and it's very cheap, but you need less. You don't really need to talk to politicians. Like, when you're making a modular thing, like a modular nuclear station, then you can talk to a large factory by yourself. You need no state involvement in that. And the state knows that. They do want to be involved. And this is why it failed. And I believe if we had our car company, our auto manufacturer, our local auto manufacturer, and if we had our modular nuclear power stations as proposed by Thabo Mbeki, we would have had a totally different conversation right now. But we don't. We chose our leaders. We got the leaders we chose. So getting back to energy and water, so solar microgrids and boreholes, with India's Saubhagya scheme, it connected 26 million homes between 2017 and 2019 using decentralized solar and hybrid grid models. The cost per household was under $400. So you see, if the Indians are very smart. Like, okay, well, the civilization is thousands of years old, but like, they are not shy to use technology to solve these kinds of problems. It's as if, like South Africa, for example, we have the stupid regulations about solar panels. In India, they don't. So, one of the things that's stopping South African energy growth is you can't pump your energy back into the grid and then obviously get paid for it. So this is a big problem. This is why I say Eskom should be privatized. It's because a privatized company will buy excess. They may not give you the price you want, but it will be a market-related price. And if you have excess solar panels, or you are just stingy with your electricity, you use blankets in winter, you feed that energy back. And then obviously just less corruption and everything, involved with that. Also, when it's a solar panel, there is no copper cables involved. A big thing in South Africa is copper cable theft. Now, with solar panels, you use less copper, so it's right there where you need it. And when it breaks down for some reason, it's also right there to fix it. You don't need to call someone out, 50 kilometers away who's not that reliable. It's something you can do yourself. A borehole as well. If you have I know there's limitations with boreholes. You have to look at the water levels and stuff like that. And boreholes will have to be regulated, because if you have 1,000 boreholes in 1 square kilometer, I'm not a geologist, then, not everyone's going to get water. You need to make very sure about where you put the boreholes. That's why I'm also a fan of transplanting, within one generation, transplanting most of the South African population towards the coast. We have a very long coastline. And along the coast, there's better opportunities for wind generation. And we can then, using solar and wind power, we can have desalination facilities. Obviously, you don't desalinate all of your water. You recycle a large amount as well. And then we fix both of these problems, in one go. And then we still have our coal. We have our coal plants, and we have the small amount of nuclear we have, but then we can use that for industry, you see. So basically, if we can just get the population onto microgrids. The same with Bangladesh. The IDCOL project installed over 4 million solar home systems in villages, unlocking nighttime education and small-scale business activity. So just to put this into perspective, how important it is to have energy. Human evolution is tied to energy. One of the, when we started using coal and steam engines, it was a massive leap forward. But for me, one of the biggest advantages was when we invented fire. It sounds silly, but when we invented fire, we got several things. We got safety, because no nocturnal animal will come and hunt you if there's a fire. They smell the smoke and they run. You can cook food. So meat that will be too tough to eat normally or very difficult to eat, you can cook. A bone that's difficult to break, you can now break open to eat it. Certain roots who were inedible or poisonous, you can now cook in the fire. So you got this food. Interestingly enough, they spoke about dancing and music. They say when we invented fire, those things came into being as well, unlocking higher brain power, because now you actually can be active at night. And it's shocking that in the 21st century, we still have people who can't study at night because they don't have electricity in certain parts of the world. That's just ridiculous, It's also ridiculous that not everyone has internet. Everyone should have internet. Everyone should have social media. I'm not a big proponent. Well, look, I don't care what you say about social media, but social media saves you a huge amount of time and effort when you want to do something. You shouldn't be an addict, but you should have access to it. Because that's how businesses run. If you want to have a small business, we no longer work with email, but like you essentially get a micro email when someone sends you a WhatsApp. Okay, like, oh, my kitchen pipe has broken down. Please come out and fix it. Now the plumber is a very busy person. He's driving. He can't like take a call. But when he eventually stops, he can read that message, and that just speeds up the economy. But you need internet, obviously. So South Africa needs what I think there's about 12 million people in areas where grid access is erratic or non-existent. And only 58% of borals in Limpopo and 67% in the Eastern Cape were launched in 2023, according to the Department of Water and Sanitation. So I propose, let's put up 1,000 solar grids, managed by community cooperatives with prepaid meters and local techniques. So give the power to the community. You know, like every community, small community, whether it's like in a slum, but it will work much better in an agricultural area. That's why I say, like, repopulate the countryside. And this is one of the reasons why there should be land reform. Is with land reform, you can live kind of in peace. This is not like Chad or trad wife propaganda. I'm not like that. All I'm saying is, if you're in the countryside, you're away from these crumbling cities, which basically need to be rebuilt from scratch. You have more energy and you have more water. So it's better to live there. And then in this community, it's easier to manage your solar energy needs. So we have 1,000 solar microgrids stretched across South Africa, and 5,000 solar borals in provinces like the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, KZN, and Northern Cape. So see where it's geologically viable, and then move populations there if they need to be moved. You don't want to. It's kind of a human rights issue to force people to move, but Australia has had to do it, and people accuse the Australian government of human rights abuse when they moved people off the countryside, certain countryside areas, because they had no water security. But you need to, have people. People need to have water security. That's just how it works. And we can get international funding, like, for example, from the IDC. And we can get technical support from overseas. So this is something we can do ourselves. And we can have conditional foreign aid grants in exchange for carbon credits. A lot of people are against, foreign help or foreign, not donations, what do you call it, philanthropy in a country like in third world countries or developmental countries like South Africa, because they say yes, it buys soft power and it's a precursor to colonialism. Well, yeah, maybe, but and they do that. Like a country like the USA will have PEPFAR as a mechanism to create, at the very least, friendship. And China will have these Confucius Institutes also to create friendship. Okay, you shouldn't just automatically say no towards these activity or no to these offers simply out of nationalistic ideas. That's silly. Like, you should embrace it. If someone wants to if Bill Gates want to immunize our population, we should say yes. If Elon Musk wants to give all of us like satellite communication, we should say yes. Like, don't come with nationalistic ideology. Ideologues are the people holding South Africa back. Let's make no mistake about that. So be very careful. Like, if you're voting for ideologue party, rather vote for a centrist technocrat party which will look after your needs and who will be more inclined or interested in implementing measures like what I'm proposing. Then specifically about desalination and the coastal migration strategy, Cape Town's 2018 day zero water crisis forced emergency desalination at the cost of 190 million rand. You see, I remember that day, like at that time. I wasn't even in South Africa. I was freaking in Chile, and I remember when the taxi driver spoke to me about it. You know, like, oh yes, we heard Cape Town doesn't have water. I'm like, what? And it was major international news. So there is a problem that we're not giving enough money to desalination companies. Once I did a project for a desalination company, a small company, but the CEO was like a genius. And this is one of these small business people, or medium-sized business people that the South African government isn't embracing enough. Another example, Algeria built 11 desalination plants between 2010 and 2020, ensuring 60% of coastal cities now rely on treated seawater. And Algeria isn't a small country. And Algeria is also ideal for solar energy. Israel's Sorek 2 plant in 2023 produces 200 million cubic water annually, m to the power 3, I think that's a cubic meter. That's over 20% of its national water supply. By the way, I know Israel is a skunk country in many aspects, but you can also learn a lot from Israel, especially in terms of technology. So there should be, for example, a desalination belt along in the Northern Cape, the Western Cape, and the Eastern Cape, especially in areas where there's zero water or who are affected by drought. So you can do that. You don't need it like in KwaZulu-Natal. KwaZulu-Natal gets enough rain. And KwaZulu-Natal, by the way, is already a very rural population, which is good. Provinces in that case should be more rural. People think of rural people as bumpkins or whatever. There's actually, they're actually to an extent they're more clever, because they know how to survive, without like external help. They know what to do if you suddenly lose a finger. They know what to do if like a baby is sick or whatever. They can help themselves, which city dwellers are basically sitting ducks. Like these zombie movies, or what's that TV show, The Last of Us, where people are actually leaving cities, and then they leave cities and they realize they don't have survival skills. So also when you're a rural person, basically you're better able to protect yourselves. Like South African farmers now to use guns. And I know there's a big farm murder problem. Not the genocide, by the way, just farmers are very vulnerable. They do know how to defend themselves. They have a lot of guns, and they are excellent marksmen. My uncle and my cousin are farmers, and they love guns and they're good at it. So then you also, you bring some pressure down from the police. So also then give these people more, gun control in South Africa should also be lifted. Think about it. It's the same nonsense as you get in other countries. How many people commit crimes with registered weapons? You're an idiot if you shoot someone if you commit a murder with a weapon that's on your registration. Like most rational people, and I'm not talking about school shootings, don't kill other people. Like they use the gun in a responsible way. Just like 500 years ago, people carried swords and knives, and they used it in a responsible way. That was a tangent. In any case, modular infrastructure. Rather than building 1 billion clinics and waiting 5 years for completion, used containerized clinics with solar power, satellite internet, and telemedicine capabilities. Deploy mobile classrooms like those in Uganda. They call it BRAC schools in high-density informal areas. So this sounds like something that can go horribly wrong, and maybe it will, but like for a lot of stuff, you just need a nurse. Just like 3 days ago, I cut myself and while making food, and I just had to go and see a nurse. I didn't need to go and see a doctor. So not everything, like it's very seldom actually that something happens to you that you really need a doctor. Do not underestimate the intelligence and usefulness of nurses. So, for example, let South Africa start with 500 mobile health units and 1,200 modular schools with smart ports and water tanks. And go to these billionaires, these tech pros and stuff, stroke their egos. Tell them how awesome and beautiful and intelligent they are. Like I just watched that movie, Mountainhead. they mock like Elon Musk and Sergey Brin and Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman. But go to these people. They're not, they may have some psychological issues, but they're not monsters. Ted Bundy is a monster. Idi Amin is a monster. Maybe these people, if you show you can account for the money, maybe they will help you. In fact, they may be more stringent. They may say, okay, we will create these things for you, but I'm going to build them in America, and then I'll ship them to you, as opposed to coming to you in South Africa with tenders. Because tenders, right now, South Africa needs a few generations probably to stop being corrupt as a nation. And once we have this mentality, maybe we can move forward. And, anyone can be like that. If you look at Vikings, Vikings, I know Vikings were mostly traders, and many of them were just farmers and fishermen, but you had a huge amount of Viking raiders who just went in and caused carnage and chaos, but they did stop with it. The Nordic countries did become more organized, and look at them today. If you wanted to have a stereotype of someone who's peaceful, reserved, and polite, it will be someone from Finland or Norway or Sweden or Denmark. It's a stereotype now, and they didn't used to be like that. So a society can change, if it wants to. Same with France, you had the French Revolution, and the French Revolution was terrible. They changed. The French changed their ways. The Congolese were, brutal colonial oppressors. They changed their ways. We can all change our ways, with time. So you just need to maybe become a more ethical person. And ethics can be a learned behavior. Staying on this topic, the UK is this is very off topic. The UK is a leader in the study of psychopaths, and specifically how to treat the disease of, or the disorder, whatever you want to call it, like of psychopathy. And once they discover psychopathy in toddlers, which is about the time you can see a child is a psychopath in a toddler stage, they start treating them, like not with, maybe with medicine, but also a lot of just like, let's say, cognitive behavioral therapy and stuff like that, because the psychos will never feel empathy, but what you can do is you can teach them causality. So you can teach them that, okay, you can do this for your own fun and enjoyment, but there will be consequences if you get caught. It's in your best interest not to act out these behaviors. So never underestimate like behavioral psychology, the positive powers that it can bring. Then let's get back to community-led infrastructure projects. So based on Brazil's participatory budgeting and the Philippines' Kalahi Cedis projects, they offer matching grants to communities that fund and execute small-scale public works, and they train local infrastructure boards to approve, audit, and co-manage assets. For example, if a ward in Umzimkhulu raises 200,000 rand in labor or donations, the state matches it with a 3-to-1 ratio for road repairs and footbridge installations. So yes, like with states, the state can be very useful, but first you need to help yourself, and this is where you as a entrepreneur should really listen. And since we have so many people who are unemployed, some of you who are unemployed will be watching this video to kill time because you are unemployed. This is where you should listen, because with all of these, you should just look at South Africa's problems, and this is a entrepreneurial opportunity for you to make money. Like, do something or do a community-based project. You can draw a salary or something as a leader, because leaders should receive a salary because of the energy they spend. And you can fix the problems, like bridge infrastructure or anything that you need in your small little town. The other day I heard they closed a hotel in the Eastern Cape. It was an iconic hotel for decades, and they had to close the hotel because there was no longer a road. The road it was beyond potholes. Like, when a road gets so bad, they actually have to scrape off the asphalt, because the asphalt creates more damage than a dirt road. So they closed the hotel. Like here and there, like on the same road was then also used by farmers, and some farmers paved like some of the road to get their produce out to the town, but they didn't pave the entire thing. And like now that town may become a ghost town or a backwards village, simply because it's not connected. If you have like local entrepreneurs, with like some state backing, you can fix it. You take over some responsibility of the state. And to get this done, you need to also be very proactive. You need to really lean on your ward councillor and the politician that's like in control of your area to get it done. This is why I'm saying now is perhaps the time for you to vote for a different political party. If you have experienced like It doesn't matter who controls which political party controlled your ward. Like, if they have controlled your ward for like 10 years and they have done either very little or nothing, it's time to vote for someone else. Okay, then talking about industrial revival, for which we need investment. Since 1994, South Africa's industrial base has eroded. Manufacturing dropped from 22% of GDP in 1990 to 11.4% by 2023. The number of operational factories fell by over 3,000 since 2005. Foreign direct investments declined from 12 billion rands in 2018 to under 50 billion rands by 2023, due largely to policy uncertainty, violent crime, and regulatory red tape. So, essentially, you have, like, because of globalism, you have like deindustrialization, but when you have like these politicians opening their mouths and saying retarded things or singing stupid songs, and if you give aggressive unions too much power, you scare off like investment. If you don't believe me, go look at the statistics. And it's not because the money is racist. Money is money. It's a freaking dead thing, like it can just buy you things, and when you have it, you don't want to lose it because you have expended a lot of effort into creating it. You'll only put it someplace where it's safe, and South Africa is not such a location at the moment. So what we need to do, whatever we should or can do rather, to attract more investment. Like, stop being shy. Like, if you have a radical way of bringing in investment, it should be done. Like, and this is where we get to our topic, special economic zones, because here, like, look, you can't go. I think Margaret Thatcher dealt with the unions pretty well in the 80s, but maybe it's a bit heavy-handed to, we're not Soviet Russia either. We don't want to destroy the capability of people who, of workers to collaborate, because now and then you will get, many of you have been working for many years, knows now and then you will get a boss that's just absolutely toxic, and you need to basically either get out of that place or, talk to other employees and force that manager out. So, maybe not. You don't want to do it whole scale. You don't want to get rid of all the unions because, that's maybe a bad thing. However, those people who are unemployed, who want to work, whether they've become unemployed because of affirmative action, whether they've become unemployed because they've never been able to find a job because of the educational failure, and they're sitting at home living off their grandmother's pension, it's their right to work. Like, if you want to work, it's your right. It's not the government's business to determine whether you want to work or not. It's your right. And this, I know, I sound like a froth at the mouth conservative. I am not. But you should give people rights. This is where we come to special economic zones. Because in a special economic zone, people like that, people who has never been employed, who's willing to work for way less than minimum wage, or someone who lost their job due to affirmative action and is also willing to work for a lower wage, they can go to a special economic zone. And it's still democratic in the sense of that if you think this money is unacceptable, you don't need to go to the special economic zone. It's not like the police or the army is going to force you to go there. I'm just saying create these opportunities for people who want it. And don't mess it up. We have 11 special economic zones, but only 3 function well, like Kucha in Eastern Cape, Richards Bay in KwaZulu-Natal, or the OR Tambo IDZ in Gauteng. The rest has delays, electricity failures, and investor flight. So basically, you need to totally deregulate those zones. You need to give safety to people who wants to create energy, like energy providers, whether they use natural gas or diesel or whether it's a miniature coal plant, I don't know if that exists, or a modular nuclear reactor, or wind and solar, whatever it is. And send also for security, send the army there. Send like a small unit of troops to these economic zones to basically secure them, so that the investors and the workers feel secure, and the buyers and the sellers feel secure in this economic zone. And then you should maybe expand it, like basically Lepashlale tech zone for green hydrogen and solar hardware. The Uppington Auto Components Parts connected to Namibia and SADC. The Matatiel Agro-Processing Hub for high-value processing exports. Van der Bijl Park Metals Complex for steel recycling and downstream. Emalaleni Logistics and Battery Assembly Node. And they should have some tax holidays, obviously less holidays than the rest of the country. 100% repatriation of profits, streamlined permits within 30 days, and zero import duties on machinery. So that you should definitely do that for special economic zones. I don't think the South African government truly understands like special economic zones, how it should work. Like, please go and review what the Chinese did. Like, China is a very good example. Do what the Chinese did and like implement it in South Africa. Then try some industrial revitalization deals. So you can have like offer foreign and local investor 20-year leases in underused industrial parks like Ekurhulene's Alrode South, and decommissioned Eskom facilities, for example, Grootvlei or Komati. So, like, that's actually where I come from, or I used to live very close to Alrode South, and it's just in ruins, and it doesn't need to be. Like, and there's a lot of stuff you can, well, okay, like, I don't want to say recycle, like remove the stuff and take it overseas, or like just smelt it down and, take everything away, but repair it, like take the stuff there, like recycle it on site by using simple tools, like, weld it back together and recreate those factories. You have to make it easy for investors because they're doing you a favor, not the other way around. A lot of South Africans think that, the world owes us everything. They don't. Like, and even if they had, like, they will be unwilling to part with money if they don't get something in return. So that's what we should be doing. In exchange for this revitalization, you should employ at least 200 South Africans per 100 million rand invested, transfer technical know-how within 5 years, fund at least one training academy per 1 billion invested. So similar models revived Poland's steel sector in Katowice post-1995 and Uruguay's logistic zones after 2004. So yeah, like if Uruguay and Poland's like in other countries we can look to as well for just like, you know, these small things that they did. When we talk about like economic plan for South Africa, we are going to borrow bits and pieces from countries that got certain things right, depending on what our specific problem is. So, and not all industries should be revitalized. If it's not strategic and if it's totally uncompetitive, it shouldn't be revitalized. But we can compete in certain things. And we can strike deals to get something back. Then modular investments. Rather than waiting 7 years for mega projects, roll out prefab industrial projects in SEZs. Offer 3-month factory setup times and allow foreign operators to co-own infrastructure. So as an example for that is Kenya's Konza Tech City that used modular fiber optic blocks and container-based startups to speed up development. So yeah, you can have like startups in these things as well, and you basically as the government then invest in them. Like the only problem will be like, let's say, certain administration, because you have to see, you know, it's very difficult to see whether a company will be, you know, whether they will be competitive or not. So to a certain extent, you will have to budget that money you'll give to startups as lost to a certain extent. You have to know that like some of that money isn't coming back. So maybe structure it in such a way that you tell people, okay, you will give them that money, but they have to spend it like they have to spend it in South Africa. If they have to buy computers, they buy it from a supplier in South Africa. They don't just buy it from China. If they need like whatever they try to buy it locally first, so that if they do fail in the end, then at least you pumped back that economy, that money into the economy, making something of like a micro what do they call it, quantitative easing or whatever. But like be prepared that startups will fail, but you should support startups nonetheless. They do it globally, not just in, you know, Poland and Uruguay, or in Kenya rather. Then reboot investor confidence. Create a public financial direct investment dashboard listing every detail, location, employment count, and compliance status. Allow arbitration in the UK, Singapore, and UNCTAD recognized venues. Negotiate custom protection values in all FDI contracts like Mauritius BIT with the EU. So basically, you also need to have targets, like let's say 4% GDP or by 2030. We're not going to get like 5% because we're following a hybrid model. As I said, we follow. My plan is mostly following a developmental model using some neoliberalism or ordoliberalism in the process. So, you know, everything happens. We try to do everything at the same time. So thereby, we grow at a slower rate, but we don't leave people behind. You know, so try to keep everyone happy, and it's not impossible. But you should also have targets, and like let's say 2030 is very far away. So there should be micro targets as well, like yearly targets and monthly targets. And if you miss a monthly target, because companies have monthly targets, if you basically go, if you know, I used to be in sales. If you go to like a sales meeting, they ask you, and there's a sales meeting is once a week. Like, okay, you have like hit your, you've hit your mark or not, and basically the government should be held to that standard as well. Like, so any problem can be fixed. Proactively, because this is another problem with South Africa, is we're not proactive enough. Like, we just react to problems. If we do proactive, if we have a proactive approach, then it will be better. Then getting to land, property rights, and redistribution. So for those of you who don't know, apartheid, it was basically land which was stolen from black people by whites, mostly. Here and there there's exceptions, but I'm not getting into that now. And some of it has been redistributed, about 8%. However, we are still not, it's still not an equal country, and there's a lot of rancor about it. So this is why it should be solved. Because of all this rancor, so that there isn't like conflict in the future. And I can guarantee you there will be, because people are very pissed off. So there has to be a fair process that works for everybody, and basically almost, I want to say almost that it should have happened yesterday. However, they should pick up speed. And there's examples. Countries like Rwanda, Ethiopia, and Peru achieved transformation through ownership clarity, not ideology. So, yeah, a lot of this land thing is racialized, and maybe it should be, but I think maybe not. Rather, like the Zulu king, for example, who's a black person, obviously, is one of the biggest landowners in the country. I don't see why he should own land in the first place. We are not like, we are not like freaking Swaziland, which is like absolute monarchy. Like we shouldn't have a king who's a landowner. That's ridiculous. Like that country, that land, he can have a small amount. He can keep a small amount of land, and the rest should be redistributed. But it should be redistributed to poor farmers, regardless of race, who has a proven track record in farming. I've spoken before about land and stuff, but I'm here in this video, I'm looking specifically at the economy, like not land. So it's better to do it with regards to property rights than with ideology about land itself. If you look at property rights, that's like mentioned several times in the books, The Narrow Corridor and Why Nations Fail. Property rights, guaranteed property rights, will make a country grow, because then we know what's going on. Investors know what's going on, and you can borrow money from the bank. So title deeds, then we start off directly with title deeds for the poor. Peru, under economist Hernando de Soto, gave title deeds to over 1.2 million urban squatters, unlocking access to $9 billion in credit. Mortgage insurance tripled in 5 years. So I say legalize all settlements over 5 years old. Okay, like if someone who squatted on, and I think it's in the Constitution as well. Like if someone is squatted over 6 years, like you can't remove them. Because there has to be some, like you also have a responsibility to clear your land if someone squatted on it. Anyone should report a crime, if you get what I'm saying. So then you may as well give that land away, not nationalize it. The opposite of nationalization, you this becomes private property then, but for the squatter. Except in disaster zones. Like, so now and then you get places where there's floods in South Africa. Like, believe it or not, we do get some floods. And some settlements go through these flood areas. Now, though, those people should be moved away out of that area because, like, we don't want any casualties. And the same for drought areas. Like, drought areas should not be populated. I previously mentioned I'm a big agricultural person who believe in ruralization, but you can't ruralize everywhere. A large part like of South Africa in the west is desert, so you can't go into those areas. So I say make 3 million new title deeds within 5 years and land security for over 10 million people. It's not impossible. I think it's easy because you have like GPS coordinates. You can see the different color roofs of some of these settlements from satellite pictures. Then just say, go in and you like measure it. For the South African, it's almost already, you don't have to demarcate it. Like, because there's already a quid pro quo between I assume there's already a quid pro quo between the slum dwellers. Okay, this is my part, that's yours. It's been like that for 10 years or whatever. And a lot of them have addresses, like, because they had to give them addresses for the election. I think everyone should have addresses if they haven't done so already. Like, if you squatted for, just a year, you should like have some form of address, whether you're a legal or illegal squatter. Like, you should have a address so people know where you are. So it's easier for us also. That'll also help to regulate illegal immigration. I'm a proponent of immigration, but you can't just have it like la vida loca like we have right now. Simply because of the high unemployment rate. South Africans need to have like opportunities for jobs. When we create these special zones, economic zones, they should not be for foreigners. And when we create these, when we do land restitution, it should also not be for foreigners. Like, so, because it just doesn't make sense, does it? Like, if you're a foreign, like, if a land lease is one thing. If the Chinese want to lease a large piece of land for growing food from restituted land, that's one thing, because the investor is a very wealthy group of people, and China's bonds are good, their currency is good, we can trust them, or we can trust the Americans or the Europeans. But when it's like someone from, and I'm not, let me rephrase, when it's someone from some poor random country who has come into South Africa, you can't like give them land. That's ridiculous. Like, handle them in some other way. Like, give them land in a what do you call it, a refugee camp, because that's technically what they are, refugees. Like, a lot of South Africans, I will always say protect actual refugees, like someone from Haiti or Eritrea or Somalia who will be killed. If you're like a transgender person from Somalia, you will be killed. That's guaranteed. So we should protect people like that. But a Zimbabwean who wants to come to South Africa to make, $100 per month more, maybe not. Maybe they're not a priority. And if we can't stop them, if they come anyway, we should still put them in like some form of refugee camp where we say like, okay, look, we understand that you're starving in Zimbabwe, but we can't allow you to just go and outcompete other South Africans. We will allow the Haitians or the Somalians to do that or to go into the economy because they're such a small amount of people, but if you're from one of these big countries that send so many immigrants, then we have to reassess that relationship. Staying on the subject of Zimbabweans, I love Zimbabweans. I think they are very friendly people. I think they're very polite. They speak better English than I can. They're highly educated. I really do like Zimbabweans. However, the government in Zimbabwe is a autocracy, and it's not a good autocracy. It's not a good autocracy like Singapore. It's a shitty autocracy like North Korea. And we as South Africa actually we have a mandate, I dare say, to basically change the government of Zimbabwe into like a government we want, a democracy, so that a democracy where like the Zimbabweans can go back to, and similar to the model I'm proposing, a developmental model where you have both capitalism and socialism at the same time, like have that in Zimbabwe, grow the country again, and for that you need to get rid of ZANU-PF. Like, I'm not saying invade Zimbabwe, but Thabo Mbeki made a mistake when they took the farmers' land away. That was one thing, but that already affects 3,000 people, and some of them were brutalized. Let's be honest about it. Some of the farmers were killed. I think 15 were killed, and a lot of them were beaten up. I don't know exactly how many got beaten up, but they had to flee their farms, and they lost it. And some of them just left Zimbabwe for Australia, the UK, and South Africa. So they're not going back, by the way, to help Zimbabwe because they're already distrusted. Then shortly after that, 5 years after that, Robert Mugabe basically started brutalizing the opposition parties who wanted to fix the country. And Thabo Mbeki did nothing. If it was up to me, if I were president, I would have cut off their electricity, all electricity to the country. I would have closed the border and told them, look, if you want anything from us, goods, electricity, whatever, if you want to come and do shopping in Johannesburg, in Sandton City, the only way we will allow you to do that is if you hold a democratic election oversighted by the United Nations. Under no other circumstance. And in fact, we're gonna ask for election oversight, not just in your national election, your local elections too. And we're going to ask for that for the next 20 years to make sure you're playing nice. Thabo Mbeki thought, I don't know what went through his mind, but he thought that, it's none of our business. Well, now it is our business because, they have moved to South Africa. And Liz Cheney, the daughter of Dick Cheney, who is so maligned in the world, and maybe he is a monster, but Liz Cheney said, you cannot ignore problems in the other world, in other parts of the world, because eventually they will become your problem. And that's even more true if the country borders you, like Zimbabwe. So basically, there will be some foreign relation tricks here as well. I am not saying deport all foreigners. I am saying create a situation for foreigners to return to where they come from, because now they've got an incentive. Mozambique fixed their economy. They got security. They stopped the civil war, and that's why you find so few Mozambique people in South Africa these days. I remember when I was 10 years old, there were Mozambique people everywhere. Now, it's difficult to find them, except if you go to the far east of the country, because then it's the same tribe. This is one tribe, is it the Tsongas? Yeah, but the Tsongas, the colonial border, basically divided the Tsonga tribe in two. So you've got Mozambican Tsongas and you've got like South African Tsongas. So that's a bit but that's different. Like you have the right to visit your grandmother who happens to live in South Africa if you're Mozambican. But however, my point is the Mozambicans fixed their economy up. They did it themselves because they realized they had to do it. Like Zimbabweans know the problem, but they need some help. And I think South Africa can help them politically so they can fix themselves economically. So getting back to land, so we spoke about how Peru, like Colombia as well, Colombia redistributed land in a very good way. Then a use it or lose it law. So Brazil has that. I know a bit of Portuguese. Let me try to pronounce it right. Estatuto de Terra. Estatuto de Terra. No, that's Spanish pronunciation. But in any case, it's the land law of 1964. Allows the seizure of idle land without compensation. Similar measures were introduced in Colombia and Paraguay. So I say, there should be a land audit for all land, and it should be done now, straight away. There should be a goal of when everything should be completed, but this is like a government agency where there should be something like the FBI, the land audit organization, because there's a lot of fallow land in South Africa, urban and rural, that should be redistributed like straight away. And when you do get land, you should use it, because if you don't, inflation will go up. People will have less food. Yeah, like even if you received like a restitution claim, if you receive your stolen land back, and I spoke in the previous video about that it's complicated, because if someone stole your great granddad's land in 1913, you will have like. From that family, maybe you'll have 100 other members, so it will have to be subdivided between them, or just the eldest son get it. I don't know how it works, or one of the members in the family who's a proven farmer should get all of it. The bottom line is, if something happens with that land, and it goes fallow, someone else should be given a turn, and this just makes logical sense. There should either be cooperation and court supervision, and expropriation should only happen constitutionally. In other words, we have the current South African Constitution, and to change it, you need a 66.6% majority of votes, and that's fair. Okay, so maybe the Constitution needs amendment, but then South Africans need to vote for it. Okay, so, and I believe 40% of South Africans didn't even vote in the last election. Shame on you. I don't care. Like I may have expressed empathy for such people previously in some of my videos, but not today. Like, you don't get to complain if you didn't vote, period. Like, it's your national duty to vote. It should be like, there's some countries where you have to vote, and if you don't vote, you get fined. Like you should get 1,000 rand fine if you didn't vote. And you have to pay this fine within a year, or you go to jail, something like that. Or you get community service. You have to go and work on a farm. It should be like that, and then people can choose political parties, or they can vote in referenda where they get to decide, do we want to take the chance and nationalize all land, or do we want to go full neoliberalism or whatever, at least you're doing something. You're not statically sitting in a armchair complaining. So two things two of the strongest takeaways from this video is that you can make money in any area that the South African government has failed, and by stepping in as a provider or a constructor. And secondly, you should vote for a pragmatic centrist party with a proven track record of no corruption, competent party as well, and you should vote. You should be part of the decision process, because all of this will affect you. Then I would say there should be like a finalization of land restitution by 2030. As of 2023, there's still over 7,000 restitution claims that's unresolved, mostly in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Northern Cape. Many claimants die before receiving land. Oh, Jesus. It was so sad. I saw, happy and sad at the same time. I saw in the news the other day a lady receiving a land. Was it in the Northern Cape? I think it was in the Western Cape. She received a land back that was stolen from her under the I don't know when it was stolen, but essentially she was like a young teenager or something when it happened, and then they had to go and live in a slum. And then with the restitution process, they realized, okay, they have to build everyone homes as well, or else it will be a mess. So they built them homes of a certain size, and she got the key of her new home. But she's now I think she's 91 years old. Okay, and this is extremely sad for me, because this person has had to wait their entire life to get their land back, and now you can't even enjoy it, because I hope she lives another 10 years and that she's in good health, and I hope she lives another 20 years, become the oldest person in the world, and remains cognitively clear and everything, and don't break a bone. I really hope that on her, because she has had such a terrible life. However, the probabilities are stacked against her, and there shouldn't be more people like that. We should really speed up land restitution so that there can be final justice done towards victims, and that there's no more rancor. There should be justice. Just to be honest. And essentially use AI, use the internet, we still need productivity benchmarks. We have to say that this woman, in this woman's case, it was different, because she just lost her house. A house is an asset, but you don't need to pay anything to the state for that. However, if you have a farmland, then it needs to be productive, always. Let's talk a bit about foreign land use. Lease-based foreign land use. So long leases, let's keep it for 50 to 99 years. And there's models like Sri Lanka's Hambantota port deal. It's a 99-year lease to China Merchants Port. And I know that didn't go through, but still, it was a good idea. Pakistan's Gwardar port based lease to China Overseas Port Holding Company. And I think they also got problems with the Chinese. But look, it was a fair deal. They and the Chinese came up with this idea that we will do this for you, but you have to pay for it. The thing is, just go and do the math. I mean, we have brilliant accountants and scientists in South Africa, financial analysts, go and see if like this is a viable thing or not, and then learn from the mistakes of the Bangla or from the Pakistan people and the people from Sri Lanka, and don't do it again. However, land leases are still subject to some domestic laws, like you still can't murder someone in such a zone. You can't kidnap them. They can't be slavery. Stuff like that. And then you return ownership if conditions are not met, and there has to be job creation, tax base expansion, and sustainability clauses. So one of the biggest things would be, you get jobs and you get tax. And, even if the jobs are, minimist jobs, people get like a lot of self-worth from working. Being unemployed drives you insane. So people can get like, a positive self-view of working. And then if you're a more skilled worker, you'll pay more tax towards the state. And this money can then be used for other areas of the economical plan. So, stabilize rural land politics, protect foreign investor confidence, increase credit access to 10 million plus households, and prevent elite land speculation. So you see, there is, no matter what Julius Malema or Rob Herzog says, there is a best of both worlds. Believe it or not, that is possible. Like, never say something is impossible. Like, scientists estimate that, the last article I read is there is like 11 parallel universes. Like, those of you who've watched Rick and Morty or whatever, like, there are parallel universes. There are some mathematical theories for it. So if there's goddamn parallel universes and antimatter and all of these weird things in the world, why can't there be, how can it be so difficult to do a fair, competent way of like having both a developmental and a capitalist economic model together? Like, it is possible. Like, you compromise a bit in one area and you compromise a bit in a different area, but you do both things together. Because, once again, I've said it in the previous video, South Africa's position is unique. We can't just go full like United States, just take the American model and apply it to South Africa. It'll be a disaster. We can't just take North Korea's economical plan and implement it. It'll be a disaster. That's a fact. Like, and you can vote for a party that has such ideology, but I can promise you the outcomes will be the same. And you can run computer models on it, and the outcome will be the same. But you can be successful in certain areas because there are proven track records. For example, the land redistribution in Colombia, Brazil, and Peru. So we can do that, and the economic zones in China. Those things really work. Go and visit Shenzhen once in your lifetime. It's probably the best city in the world that I have seen. Is Shenzhen. You have the best of everything. And Shenzhen is as old as I am. Exactly. It's exactly as old as I am. It's just under a few months older than me. And it started out as a fishing village, like a village, not even a town. It started out as a village. Today it's a city of, I think, 5 million or 7 million people. And it's so technologically advanced. It's like going, it's like interstellar or something. It's like the trains are perfect, the highways are perfect. They've got like these perfect skyscrapers, lots of businesses, great schooling, the water is perfect, electricity, there's no electricity outages, super high-speed internet. They've got very good nature parks. They've got very good beaches, great entertainment zones. I can go on and on and on about Shenzhen. I should maybe do a video about it. But look, if these countries could have and I mean, Peru isn't a Marxist country, China isn't a Marxist country. If they can do these things and find massive financial success and more foreign direct investment, we can do it too. So let's not get boggled down in old man ideas and old man politics. Let's be pragmatic and come up with new solutions and thoroughly study other examples. Even if those examples have failed, like that port in Sri Lanka, it's still worthwhile to look at it and see maybe if certain parameters are adjusted, if it may work. That's all for now. I will do the last part on the series in the final episode. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.